the only table I can get. Now, as I talk to you all about how little kids' books are terrible because we're enforcing it for all kids to read. But this video is not about books. It's about something that's getting rid of books, but in a bad way. Video games. And you might be thinking, Andrew, you can't criticize video games. You have no experience with it. Oh yeah, I have a lot of experience with video games. I used to be a video game addict. And I'd like to tell you all what exactly happened to me. Now, if you do not like content about how some guy's life was bad and ruined because of somebody's experiences with video games, then, you can go down into the description and read all of it, because I will not actually be covering all of the sensitive stuff in it. But for the video, I will be covering all the stuff that you will probably just close the video because it's way too bad. Now, let's get started with my story when it comes to video games. I remember the first time I played video games. I had Plants vs. Zombies first, but I had no negative stuff out there, and I'm not telling you to play Plants vs. Zombies. That game sucks and it's very outdated. But I want to go down into my kindergarten class. It was near Thanksgiving, and they made these little tents. And every single week, one group of kids will go in there, and they can either read books or they can go play video games. And everybody chose video games. Now, books were definitely allowed. They were extremely encouraged, but nobody would ever choose the book. They chose the video games. One day, my iPad for the video games ran out of battery. So I went and charged it and waited. And in the meantime, I grabbed the book and read it. And then all the kids stared at me and said, Andrew, books aren't allowed. And I was like, what? There's a sign right there that said only books and video games allowed. That was from earlier this year. The term hasn't changed ever since the year started. Oh my God. And then they told me, books aren't allowed. And then I said, no, why did the teacher give me this one? Why did the teacher tell me to grab a book and read it? And they said, because it's an alternative. But really, books aren't allowed. And you know what I said? I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get my charged one because it's good now. Yeah! That was my first experience. The 5 kids inside, not including me, they were all telling me books were not allowed. Even if only 2 weeks earlier, the teacher clearly stated that books were what you were supposed to do. But if you think that's the sensitive part, that's not it. In order to understand what was bad about it, you gotta go a bit further. In my second grade, it was much better than my first grade. My first grade teacher wasn't exactly a good teacher, but in my second grade, I enjoyed it. But you see, there was this one time where I found out about these new things. Some really cool new things. There's this website called Cool Math Games. Now, it sounded good. It said cool math games until you actually look at it, and none of it has anything to do with math. unless you go into education, which was removed in 2017. But they kept the name Cool Math Games. And Cool Math Games was allowed. There was also this Lego thing for Lego Ghostbusters, I guess. But one day, I decided that, you know what, I don't want to do extra math right now in order for me to play all these video games. I'm just going to pretend I'm doing extra math, which is a little app for math. It's very boring and dumb. It's about teacher David talking about death. And then when I was doing it, I was like, you know what, I don't want to do it. I went out of it completely. Then went down, went to homepage, and clicked on Cool Math Games. And I played it for an hour and a half. Only until the teacher was like, all right, everybody, wrap it up. I'm not doing anything bad. But if you think that's the bad part, that was only the warm-up. It would only get much worse. My video game addiction would be much worse than homeless people and cigarettes. It was in my 3rd grade. Now, in 3rd grade, it was 2020 and 2020 and 2021. So, yes, it was lockdown. So we did it on Zoom. And Zoom is on the computer, where you can also access to video games. Now, at first, I got addicted to Paper Minecraft. It's this popular game on Scratch Junior. It's basically Minecraft, but 2D. Now, I would play it all day long, like no matter what. Now, of course, I did watch a few YouTube videos, but that was the most important thing that I did. Well, at that time, at class, I would go on and be like, here. And I would just turn off the sound, so my mom couldn't hear it. I'd go, whenever a single sound is made, a little mute button would pop up there, and I'd click the mute button, boom. It doesn't emit a single sound. And I kept this habit, even after it was reported to the principal. Now, one day, it went way too far. What happened was, oh my God, it's just too bad. I went too far. I answered a question to my teacher correctly. Nobody else had the answer. He was like, good job. And I forgot to close my microphone. And then I started playing the video game. And then Mr. Chow said, Andrew, what are you doing? Nothing. I can hear that you're doing something. Nothing. But Andrew, I can hear it. I'm doing nothing. And then he just looked into my eyes and he was like, I can see the reflection. You're playing Paper Minecraft on Scratch Junior. And I was like, nope. I'm not. I'm not. Until the worst thing happened. Now that was even less than the second one I told you about. It was going to be even worse this time. So my mom and my sister went on a little vacation by themselves because, you know, they don't like kids for some reason. And they went to some state. I've got no idea. It's probably Wild West state, like Texas. I don't know. I actually have no idea where they went. But I was left with me and my dad. And my dad, he went to bed real early. And he would also, I don't know what he did, but he probably confined himself into his room to do his work and earn money. But I used that opportunity to go onto the computer in class, and I found a new game. It was a mixture of Fortnite and Minecraft, these two games I've always heard about, and I loved it. It was called Mad Guns. That's actually its name. It's Mad Guns. Not Mad Guns, but Mad Guns. And I would play it. Now, it was a very graphic game. It was basically Minecraft with hundreds of guns. And I just loved it. I was level 30. I was level 35, which was pretty good. I had red AK. My best gun would be, I think it was this hamster gun that was powered by some hamster, I guess, and reloaded by feeding the hamster a carrot. And I got obsessed with that. And on the second day of the week, I was like, my dad goes to bed early. My dad goes to bed early. I like video games. He doesn't wake up in the middle of the night? Yeah, that's true. And it became even worse after that. You know what I did? The worst thing a human could possibly do. At night, I made sure that the computer was fully charged. 100%. Lasted for about 5 hours. I'd sneak it underneath my bed. My dad would close the light, be like, good night. Don't do anything bad. And I'm like, okay, Dad. And then he closes the door and I'm like, ugh! God, it brings me nightmares to go back to that. Now, I did that for an entire week until my parents, my actual guardians besides my dad, came back and they stopped doing it. But I sure did it at class. It took a long time for me to quit Mad Guns. I recently went back to Mad Guns, but I kind of lost all of my stuff. So, that's bad. I tried to redo all of the stuff. I did, but I only realized that I was turning into an addict again. So I decided not to do it again. It took about 7 months for me to officially quit video games. And ever since, I haven't played a single video game again. Now, there are many YouTubers on YouTube who are claiming that video games are good for you. All the claims that video games are bad for you are false. Yeah. Those people aren't even kids. They aren't kids. They don't understand how traumatizing video games are to children. Like violent video games. It won't turn you into a serial killer. That's assured. Violent video games like Fortnite and Halo are not going to turn you into a serial killer. But you know what it is going to do? It's going to scar your life. That controller that you hold, the wire will tangle onto your arms until you can't do anything. I mean, if you go think about it, put down the remote, go take a shower. You're not thinking about how to do everything. You know what you're doing? You're thinking about playing video games. If you're an adult and you go to work, you're not thinking about the work and putting as much effort into it so that you can get more money. You're thinking about quitting your job and going back home and playing video games 24/7. And for kids And for kids, that can be much more worse than what happens to adults. But you know something? There are too many things on the internet talking about how video games could be good for you and how it can help with your mental development. Yeah, definitely. It sure helped me. Not become a video game addict. It's not like I played the equivalent of 1 year of video games for my entire 9 years on this planet Earth, and my 5 years of being capable of opening up a computer. 1 year of that was spent completely every day, every night, playing video games. And I would not stop until 7 months. I guess I stopped about 2 years ago. I stopped playing video games 2 years ago. And that was so traumatizing. I was like, okay. I'm not gonna play video games. I'm not gonna play video. And people still think that it's good to play video games. And then the adults, they're doing the worst thing of them all. My Jesus Christ, my life's crumbling because of it. They are spreading the myth. Stop gambling. Go play video games. That thing. Now video games is a way to tell kids not to do something. And then, unbeknownst to us, we have taken a drug out of a child, and then infecting the child with another drug that's 100 million times more deadly. Isn't that stupid? Not the brightest thing to do, but yet there's so many people still claiming that video games can help you. All the people who are doing that are adults. How can an adult realistically point out the feelings of a child? Only a kid can say what a kid can feel. And for me, my experience with video games was terrible. Have you ever seen those drunken alcoholics? With their alcohol, they hug with alcohol every single night. Whenever they wake up, they take a giant glass and then they go to bed happy. And then the next day they get drunk again. You might think that addiction is bad. But for video games, for me, it was much worse. It was worse for my psychological development. If it weren't for video games, I predict that by now I would have been the President of the United States of America or something. When you play video games, it slows your mental growth. Basically, if your growth as a child goes up, video games comes in and brings it down. It starts collapsing. So please, if you want to say you can't experience it, I would say I'm a kid. Most kids played video games, so I followed suit. And I realized how terrible video games were for your mental growth. I used to have a few friends. I'm not friends with them anymore. They played video games all day long, no matter what. And the worst part, the worst part of it all, they influenced me to follow suit. I have one quote from one of my best friends. A quote. He was a avid video gamer. He would video game all day long. I used to video game with him, but then I started trying to quit. And then do you know what he told me once? Come on. Bring back your old better self. I miss your old self. And then when I followed suit and played video games, he said, there's the real Andrew. That was not me. Now, here's my crazy mental person screaming about what happened next. That wasn't me. That was the devil talking in my ear. And then my friend, he has the devil talking in his ear and controlling his brain. And now you know what happens next? Boom! The devil has 2 more people to control. This is the result of giving video games to kids and saying it's good. Now, the adults are definitely not correct about how it's going to turn you into a serial killer. It's going to turn you into something even worse than that. You're going to become an addict. You'll wake up every single day drunken. Now you tell me, do you still believe video games are good or at least okay for a child's growth?